2 Alpha.
Alpha.
2 Alpha.
Alpha.
2 Alpha.
Alpha.
Hey everybody, thanks for clicking on this video. This is my quick review rant-ish discussion of the Armory Craft dual adjustable trigger. Before we start, as always, disclaimers. Weapon is clear. No ammunition. So I'm doing what the people at Armory Craft suggest not to do. I'm using their trigger in conjunction with the Bruce Gray competition kit. So it's so this review, it'd be skewed anyways, because even if I had something negative to say, there'd be no way to attribute it to actual Armory Craft, because I'm using it in conjunction with other aftermarket parts. Luckily for them, I don't have anything negative to say. Another thing, one of their disclaimers, but I'll put it out, is it's dual adjustable. So there is a screw in the back and a screw straight up. One screw is to adjust pre-travel, and the other screw is post-travel. They warn you that they say that it's not meant for any kind of EDC or defensive carry, especially if you're going to engage with the pre-travel. So I'm putting that out there. That's straight from their videos and their media. And my last administrative note is there are other choices out there. Bruce Gray just came out with an adjustable trigger from Gray Guns. It looks like it's the fire. If you guys are aware of Isaac Lockwood, you can check out his YouTube channel and his Facebook. He has this video where he's absolutely smoking it with a Gray Guns adjustable trigger. We'll be honest, it's maybe 10-15% the trigger, and the other is all Lockwood. He's an amazing shooter. So another quick disclaimer too. So I'm giving you this review and this rant, but this is through the prism of my experiences. And I don't want to say this, put this in another way. Like, anybody who shoots who doesn't have as much experience as I do will take everything I say and think it'll sound great, or like put a lot of emphasis on it. But people with more experience or better shooters than me might hear what I say and think it sounds like shit. So it's all through the prism of the experiences. So I can only give you a review given the knowledge I have with triggers and what I've gone through. And I have a little bit of knowledge with competition triggers as far as the 320. I had the Gray Guns, not the Gray Guns adjustable, just the Gray Guns. Used competition triggers in my ARs. But I've never used anything as light as like a 2-pound or a 1.5 pound trigger, like some like high-end 2011 triggers. I've never used a competition trigger that light, or even a 1911 style competition trigger. So my experience with competition triggers is limited strictly to a couple of ARs and what I've been putting in this 320. So it's another disclaimer. Armory Craft dual adjustable Sig P320 trigger. Now, don't get it mistaken, because the gun is sitting in right now. Looks a little worn. Looks like it's well used. The trigger itself, I actually have nothing bad to say about it. I have all positives, despite it being used in conjunction with a third market trigger group, a third party trigger group. So we're gonna get into the pros. So the pros. The gun with the trigger has tighter tolerances, and if you have an old fire control group like I do, that's all rattly and you can shake the pins out, then it kind of makes everything feel a little tighter when you put the trigger in. It kind of, it fills things up more. Another thing I really like about this trigger is that it's wide. It's a lot wider than a normal trigger. So this is the Gray Guns, the original Gray Guns trigger. It's been sandblasted. It doesn't look like this out of the factory. I plan on doing some stuff. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this thing yet, but it's been brought down to the weight. Anyways, so this is the width of the regular trigger, curved, of course. If you notice, the Armory Craft trigger is a lot wider than it. So that serves a couple purposes. One, it looks pretty cool, but two, I don't get I'm not feeling now. Like I said, I have a couple hundred rounds for this, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But after maybe I want to say 500 rounds, I don't feel like I have a lot of left to right play on it. Like, it's pretty much no matter where I hit on this trigger, my finger's flat, the pad of my finger's flat on the trigger, and there's enough space to accommodate the whole pad of my fingers. So I feel like it might minimize some of that left to right. Now, mind you, a sloppy pull is a sloppy pull, and pre-ignition jerk and all that stuff, it's not going to prevent that. It's not going to make you pre-ignition jerk proof. But I feel there's something to the width of this trigger and keeping your rounds going straight. And like I said, the point of these triggers is to go straight to the back, and I feel that width helps you with that. Another thing with the adjustments is less movement in the trigger is always a plus. Less movement means there's less things to go wrong, less energy your input can put into the trigger to deviate it. So if you guys aren't aware, which you should be, but you want to press the trigger without interrupting your front sight of your dot. So ideally, you want to press that trigger all the way back without the front sight of the dot moving at all, and that's the goal of it. And this trigger, the width and the fact that it's adjustable, it takes up that extra slop, definitely aids in that. Aesthetics, I find it aesthetically pleasing. I mean, it looks cool. And then everybody knows red makes you go faster. I am seeing now, when I first took it out, and before I actually got to the range and I was dry firing it, I did notice a little less movement in my dot. It seemed a little more steadier. Now that could be because of the tighter tolerances, that could be because of the width, but it definitely, I felt like it translated over. So I have some video I'll post from the range, and you're definitely able to go ham on this trigger. It's kind of a forgiving trigger, I'll be honest with you. You can really get behind it. Any point in the video where you see when it looks like there's a hiccup or a skip, it's not the trigger, it's trigger freeze on my part. But you can definitely open up. I remember when I was shooting, and that's kind of the feeling I got when I was like, all right, let me run this bad, Larry. And I got behind her, and I really started putting the gas up. I mean, and I say putting on the gas as it is relative to me. To date, my fastest splits are between 20 and 23, and I was reaching that with this trigger. But I've never broken the 20 level on splits. So take everything I say about competition triggers with a grain of salt. I'm not a 14, 13 split guy, not yet at least. A lot more practice to go. But everything stays straighter. My doubles, they were like I'll shoot 7 to 10 meters, and I'll shoot on like paper plates, and I'm always within the plate. I very rarely when I'm shooting my doubles and shoot for acceptable accuracy and going after that trigger, it's very rare it strays out of there. As long as I'm doing my part at those distances, I usually have A-zone hits to the point where it's pretty automatic. And this trigger, it aided in that. I was a little worried putting a new trigger in that. I was doing so well with the old one with the gray guns on the gray guns kit that putting a new trigger in there on top of the gray guns was going to cause a lot of problems. And there was a rough start at first. It is adjustable, so I had to learn my adjustments. So my only one problem, I guess, and this will go into my con section, but it's not really a con section. There's not a lot bad to say about it. Was I want to say, was it the pre-travel? Yeah, it was the pre-travel. There's only so much I can tighten up on the pre-travel before I will start having malfunctions. And when I initially did it, I had a lot less movement than this. It was actually almost here. I was like right about there was where it was set at. And it was nice for getting behind the trigger, and it did help, it did make it a little easier. It made those splits come, they felt like they came faster. But like I want to say, you get going in a string and maybe 3-4 shots in, there would be, it wouldn't reset. Like it didn't go back back enough or forward enough to reset. So I had to loosen it back up, and the only place I could get it to, so it's right about there. So this is for me with the Armory Craft on the Gray Guns competition kit. This is about as tight as I can get with the pre-travel, which it looks like a lot, and it is a lot, but there is a lot more I could take up. It would probably be a little further out. But other than that, it's not too many complaints about it. It works good. I really, like I said, I dig that it's wider. I feel that really helps you kind of keep centered. It's hard because it's hard to quantify in words like what you feel, especially somebody of my skill level, because I'm not like an expert enough where I can be like, no, I felt this point, and that point. So I have to give you what I think and what I feel and try to quantify that in words. And it's not too much. I mean, it felt good shooting. Whatever hiccups it did have was just from a learning curve from the installation, because I am using it with other parts. But I was able to get behind it. And I honestly, so due diligence, go out and if possible, go try the Gray Guns adjustable trigger kit. Go watch the Isaac Lockwood video. Go watch the Gray Guns video on their kit, because that looks amazing. But I can tell you, you can't go wrong with the Armory Craft either, though. This one did not disappoint me. I kind of wish they would put some media out, or have some more higher end shooters get behind these triggers and to see, because I purchased it because it looked cool. I wanted an adjustable trigger, and I was going to get the Gray Guns, and then it's probably the dumbest reason, but I was like, oh, but that one looks cool. So I got this one because it looks cool, but it also works cool. So if you're still watching, I want to thank you for putting up with my atrocious New England accent. Keep training, keep shooting, and I'll see you on the next video.